Oh shit. What the hell? A speed paint? A speed paint! That's right. And it only took over a year after I probably said something in the last ones about uploading more speed paints. I love lying. The lesson here is to never listen to a word I say. Anyway, we're drawing Ninjago. Have you guys ever heard of it? Have you guys ever heard of Ninjago? Not a very well-known show. Definitely not one that I think was a huge part of a lot of people's childhoods. Not mine, though. I never really watched Ninjago as a kid. I knew it existed. I knew it was a thing, but that was kind of it. I actually had a board game. I had a Lego Ninjago like board game. We never figured out how the rules worked, so we just made up our own. It was great though. But now, in my 20s, I have watched the entirety of the funny Lego show. Mainly because Monkey Kid, if you follow me anywhere other than YouTube, you know that Monkey Kid takes up a huge portion of my brain. And seeing other friends get into it, or like re-get into it, I did indeed cave and I did watch this show. It only took me a couple of months, and now it's infested my brain. I can't stop thinking about them. I love hyperfixating on early 2010s cartoons. So, onto the actual drawing itself. Note, I'm recording this kind of early in the day. I'm still kind of sleepy. So apologies in advance if this entire part becomes very scrambled. Again, my brain is not fully on yet. I am very, yeah, you get it. This is gonna be rambly again. My bad in advance. This piece was a fun one to work on. It's been a while since I've done such like a complicated piece. I haven't really had the time, which is also why there hasn't been a lot of speed paints. Wow, who could have thought that those things would be connected? So this was a fun piece to work on. These three are definitely among my top favorites in Ninjago. If you've ever interacted with me or just seen anything of me or from me on the internet, you know that I'm not immune to sibling dynamics. They are my favorite. They mean everything to me. So I had to do a piece with these three. Also because I love the whole RGB thing, the whole red, green, blue. It's fun. It's fun. And yeah, the entire process in the start that we see here in the start is pretty standard for what I usually do. It's getting the rough sketch down, doing my weird line art / sketch stage because I merged those two motherfuckers. And then after that, lay down flat colors and so on so. For Ninjago, it's like, since it's a Lego show, you know, all the characters are Legos, which I'm not gonna draw them as Legos. Fuck that. I don't wanna draw Legos, that's hard to draw. So instead, my little designs for them, which I have doodled them before. I've always had an idea for what I want them to look like, but it was also fun to get that colored and stuff and get it more properly drawn. This is something I know I've talked about before as well in like old speed paints, specifically DuckTales speed paints. I'm pretty sure when I drew my human DuckTales designs, I mentioned like how much I also like drawing characters who are related, mainly because, you know, you get to play around with that and give them certain features that are similar while still keeping them a bit distinct. Like how Nia has her birthmark / mole, I'm not entirely sure, but it's mole, birthmark, I don't know what the right word for it is, but she has that, which is pretty, you know, distinct for her character, and I want to keep distinct, but then I was also like, I like giving Kai a few of those as well, like not as prominent as Nia's, but I give him like significantly one that's over one of his eyes, and I also gave both him and Nia very faint freckles, mainly because I think it's cute, and also he had freckles. Like Kai, very significantly, like in the shots we see of him as a kid, had freckles, and I was like, oh, I know it'd be cute if like they had very faint freckles. And I also made, because they're very strikingly, you know, Kai has brown hair, Nia has black, and I still kept it that way. They still have brown and black hair, but I made Kai's a slightly darker brown, and for Nia, to tie it a bit more in, I make her black hair have a bit of like a brown tint to it. Like it's still black, but it's kind of like a more brown black. Hopefully that makes sense. And also giving them both brown eyes. Kai's brown is a bit more reddish, aside from his, it would be his right eye that has a scar over it. So to kind of show that the vision in that eye is not as good, or kind of evoke the feeling of it being partially blind, I kind of make the pupil a lot paler, a lot lighter, and like kind of rounder because it can't focus as much as the other one. And for Nia, her brown is a bit more desaturated. It's not as deep as Kai's, for lack of a better word. So Kai's are very, kind of fiery, and Nia's has the blue hints in it to evoke the sense of water. Lloyd's eyes. Let's move on to Lloyd. We haven't talked much about Lloyd. I have many thoughts about this boy. Number one, refuse to believe that this Lego just looks like a normal dude. He is part Oni and part dragon, like his papa and uncle before him. I think he would have, features that evoke the fact that he is part dragon and part Oni. So what I mainly do is I give him horns and I give him kind of claws-ish and these little scale-looking things across his face. I also do headcanon that he has a little tail. Doesn't show up in this piece, but I do think he has a little Oni tail. And pointy ears, of course. I can't believe I didn't mention the pointy ears. I give him pointy ears. Now, Lloyd's eyes, because they are a fun one. You can see me try 2 different versions of his eyes. The first one was like a kind of brown one with the green pupil, and then I just do like a fully green one. And for most of the speed paint, you'll see him with the green eyes, because at first I was like, that was the one I settled for, because I thought it looked better from afar. The brown eyes kind of got a bit muddled when I zoomed out. But I did in the end go back to the brown eyes, because I just think they stand out more, and I think with the way that the reason his eyes are green, at least like for the redesigns, is like his eyes are green is because of his powers. So I thought like with the green pupil, the eyes look a bit more unnatural, which kind of invokes this feeling of like, this boy is radiated. This boy is radiated. He does not have normal eyes. Whereas the green ones, well, I don't dislike them. I like the green eyes, but they just felt kind of like basic green eyes, They just kind of they were green eyes. What can I say? They were green. So I switched back to the brown eyes because I think they look better, and also because the brown I use for those eyes are a way more red brown. Don't know if it shows up well, but I imagine his eyes would be more red than brown because of Garmadon having red eyes. And then in them I also add hints of purple, just again, that's just me adding on to like this stuff from his dad, because I'm normal about the Garmadons. Oh, they drive me insane. So I end up going back to the brown eyes, and I really do like them, and they tie in more with some of my headcanons for, like, I guess how Lloyd's powers and eyes go together, because that's the whole thing. And I think his eyes are, like, my favorite detail. Now, for the shading and kind of the effects / elements, animal power stuff, I did those in Procreate. The shading is pretty simple. I use my favorite painter brush that I made myself, because I'm very picky. And I just kind of block in areas in usually a pretty bright color that I set to multiply at the end, and I kind of just erase. I just slap it down where I want the shading to go and just fuck around until it looks good. That goes for a lot of the rendery stuff I do. It's just messing around with it until it looks okay. Same thing for highlights. For the elements, a lot of that is also just kind of fucking around until it looks like what I want it to look like. It's very hard for me to explain my process on it because I kind of just did it. Every time I draw stuff like that, I forget how I draw it. I just kind of do it, and then I'm like, wow, that worked out, awesome. I don't remember what I did. But like the main thing, like for Kai's Fire, the main thing I would kind of say is just starting with making a general shape of the flame in a reddish orange, usually a darker value, and then kind of building up with lighter oranges and ending it with yellow. Just building up in like the middle and like at the low, like the further up the flame goes, or like further out of the like edges the flame is, the darker it is, and the more in the middle it's brighter because that's where it's warmer. And usually play around with like effect layers, like adding some of the yellow layers into add, which makes it like look more glowy. And to the very end, like copy paste the whole silhouette and put it underneath and make it like a darkish red and just blur it Gaussian blur it, because that makes it look like it's glowing, which is cool. Lloyd's, explaining how I draw Lloyd's powers is as hard as it would be to explain Lloyd's powers in the show. It's just, I went to town with green, making it look like energy, a bit like electricity, just like it's kind of sparking and building up with different bright greens and yellows, using bright yellows to kind of contrast the green a little bit and make it look like it's glowing a lot more. The water is the hardest one to explain. I don't know what the fuck I'm doing whenever I draw water. I'm like blue, erase parts of it, add some different values of blue, add some brighter blue around where I erase stuff, add a blue on a layer underneath it, and make it a dark blue, usually with like a multiply or like just like an effect layer. Depends on what kind of background you have. And then also erase more of that, so you have like that little part where it's basically nothing. I don't know. And then adding highlights and stuff. It's very hard to explain the process, and I'm very sorry that I'm not explaining it well, because I can't. I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. I have no clue what I'm doing half the time I'm drawing. I'm just like, bada bing, bada boom. It looks good. Let's fucking go. So sorry if you wanted to figure out how to draw effects. I don't know what I'm doing. And that is kind of the end of it. There's not much else I want to say other than I am pretty happy with this piece, and I hope you enjoyed the rambling. I did not mean to ramble so long about Lloyd and his eyes specifically, but I have a lot of fun with the details like that, especially for these kind of characters where they're just Legos. I love the kind of the freedom it can give in doing whatever the fuck you want with certain parts of their designs. And I had a lot of fun with this drawing. It took me over a week. Oh boy. But it's finally done. I like it, and I hope you enjoyed watching this process and hearing me ramble about it. I hope any of it made sense. But yeah, that's basically it. I'm gonna wrap this up now, and I'll see you guys sometime later. If you want to, I am a lot more active on my social media. Even when I'm not posting a lot of art, I'm still there. So, you know, if you want to, go follow me in my other spots. I have linked all of it in the description. And with that, have a nice week, and I'll see you guys later. Goodbye!